Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ink House Radio. My name is Jammer, and today I'm joined by Jonesy and Diego. I'm not going to ask how you're doing because I'm sure you're doing fine, but I am reporting to you live from a winter storm here over in Mountain Time in Colorado. And it's going to be cold. And I swear to God, every fucking year, people act like winter has never happened in Colorado before. Everyone's like, oh my God, there's going to be 80 straight hours of below zero. And I'm thinking, that happens every goddamn winter. What are you talking about? This is nothing new. But yeah, how's weather over where you all at? Like Jonesy and Diego? It's raining. Diego?
I mean, I'm not in LA, but I live in California, so you guys have heard about how that's going on.
Yeah. Are you getting a lot of smoke?
Not really, no. It's actually quite surprising that there is no smoke quite yet where we're at.
I was expecting to get some smoke over here because usually there's a few days or like a week or so, and then we get the smoke from California. But I haven't gotten any, and
no, because I think the winds. I think the winds are blowing it out into the ocean.
The winds of winter are blowing into the ocean.
Yeah, they're blowing it out into. Sorry, they're blowing. The winds are
directly into your lungs, apparently.
Out into the Pacific Ocean.
Did you just call it the Pacific Ocean?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was on purpose or if you just did it.
That was 100% on purpose.
I couldn't tell at first.
Oh wow!
Hey, some people. I don't want to judge. Actually, no, I do want to judge. I was ready to judge, but I'm happy that it was a joke. Anyways, I bring up weather anomalies because of today's film. We are discussing the animated feature Flow, which
that was a smooth segue.
Yeah, that was very.
I appreciate
very
it.
Smooth.
Well, so Flow is kind of come out of nowhere. It is a little independent movie. And you could tell it's independent because it has 2 minutes of goddamn logos at the beginning.
Did you notice?
Yeah, I did. It's so funny you mentioned it, and I was like, yeah, that's fine, sure. It has like some logos at the beginning, and then I did it, and it just kept going and going. Literally 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes of logos at the beginning of this goddamn movie.
Yeah, I didn't. I also was like, how bad could it possibly be? Because I see Jonesy fucking complain about it. I'm like, it can't possibly be that bad, and I'm like. Oh my God.
I'm convinced.
Oh my God, he's not wrong. This shit is long.
I've played video games and watched movies my entire life. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. I was like, what is happening? Is this the entire movie?
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is starting now. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Wait, what about no, that's still not it.
No, I was telling Kirsten, I was like, I'm convinced that every one of these people just contributed $5 to this movie. That's how many. That is how many logos there were at the beginning of this goddamn
Kickstarter.
Thing. Pretty much. But yeah, this movie is raking in some awards. It won Best Film Awards at the 37th European Film Awards and New York Film Critics, LA Film Critics. Didn't it win an Annie or something? Or a Golden Globe. Oh, it won Best Animated Film for Golden Globe. I was thinking, it's not the Oscars. The Oscars haven't happened yet. It was the Golden Globe, which was kind of the upset, especially in a world where The Wild Robot came out, which there are some similarities here and there, which I think is kind of interesting. But it's, it's a little engine that could, and it's been doing pretty well. And
it's a hell of a comparison.
In a good way or in a bad way?
I think for a second, I would wonder which I thought was better, and then I would default to Wild Robot.
Interesting.
I thought Flow was gorgeous. I thought it was beautiful, but like the feels that I felt watching Wild Robot versus Flow, like not
the whole time, it was very different. And I guess we could just transition into the movie itself. Well, I guess we're starting with comparisons to Wild Robot. I felt more genuine emotion watching Wild Robot, whereas this one, you kind of get that warm, fuzzy feeling when you just watch animals be animals, legitimately animals, and also that undercurrent of fear that one of them is going to die at any moment, and you're really just hoping that none of them are going to die. And it's just an impressive. So the look of it is not very polished. in its style and the way it looks. It looks like an extended cutscene of a video game from like the PS3 era.
Yep.
But there's a lot of attention to the mannerisms, personalities, and physicalities of all the animals that really helped engage me as a viewer, even if frankly it is not my cup of tea when it comes to the type of movies or stories that I like, though it has elements of it. And that's kind of what I was expecting going into it. It didn't impress me. It didn't surprise me. It pretty much delivered on kind of what I expected based on the trailers and the buzz from it. But overall, I think it's a testament to what can be done by basically almost no crew. This was, I believe, almost created completely from one person. Maybe I'm mistaken about that, but it was created using Blender, which is an open source, free piece of software that I know a lot of YouTubers use. And it really just goes to show the accessibility of the tools at anyone's disposal, given, the time, talent, all that stuff. So I can appreciate what it is and what it does for animation, even if I definitely do not plan on revisiting this anytime soon. Jonesy, what did you think?
I agree with a lot of what you said, and especially in the comparison to Wild Robot. Like, there was a moment when I was watching this where I kept expecting the animals to start talking. Like, oh, this is just kind of like a prelude to what we're getting, and we've seen them in a scene, and then they're going to start speaking, and that never happened. So it was very interesting trying to adjust what my brain was doing to what they were actually doing. So watching them just be animals and learning their personalities based on their movements and their actions was pretty fun. I also thought that, and so one of the things I didn't know walking into this is an expanded version of a 2012 short film that was made. And so, to your point about it being made by one person, I am really curious, like, is that the production lead time for some of this? Like, Blender,
12
no way
years.
existed. Yeah, no way Blender existed that long, right?
Let's take a look. Yes, it did.
Did it?
It's been around since the 90s, 1994.
Okay. Wow. So it is entirely possible that this was that this was just like a 13 year production time if it was that few people. But it was a lot of fun.
Always to keep in mind that it's not like they're working on this full time. It's like they're doing this while having to do other things to, live,
make money,
and money and all that stuff.
So yeah, we could be creating beautiful art, but we created taxes and jobs. I guess one of the questions I had for you guys. Actually, no, sorry, Diego impressions. I want to know
Diego, what are your thoughts?
I want to know who everybody's favorite animal.
No, I
was.
mean, I freaking love the movie. I thought it was really freaking. I thought it was adorable in the way that like animals really behave like animals. I found myself laughing a lot of the times. I thought it was really emotional, not like Wild Robot, like you said. I mean, I don't know that we could compare the two, but if we're going to, because we have to, because it's animated. Wild Robot made me feel feelings. Yes. Wild Robot made me feel feelings. But because it hit the concept of, certain themes that, motherhood and there were words attached to it. This movie was able to convey its message without having a single word, which is crazy. And like I said, I found myself really enjoying it at one point, because I actually watched it with a couple of friends, because I was like, hey, I'm going to watch this movie if anyone's interested, because I was going to pay, I paid the rent, and I was like, hey, does anyone want to watch this with me?
No one want to throw down a couple bucks?
No, I just paid for it. And I had like basically like a little Thursday movie night thing in my Discord for my with my friends group and server.
Oh, that's nice.
That's fun. And that's a good idea.
Yeah, so we watched the movie, and people had no idea what it was, which I thought was great, because none of us did.
Yeah,
because I like going to the movies not really knowing what's going on. So the movie was confusing at the beginning, because I was like, what is going on that's causing this water level to rise so fast? And then to get to the point where like the cat is at the top of the
ear,
but it's still not the highest point in the planet. because like it was super high because like they're still going up and up and up, and then somehow they end up in higher air elevations. But regardless, it just kept going because they never really explained that, which I think is one of the interesting points of the movie. But the one thing that I loved about it was, and I kind of was joking about it with my friends. They're like, "This is One Piece, really, if you think about it."
There's a couple of parts that reminded me of it. So this is a really
I'm
deep
like,
cut.
this
When
is
they
One
go,
Piece. It's weird. This is One Piece.
when they go into that the ruins, not really ruins, but the area where they're going through like the city, it reminded me of that one city in movie 6,
Yes.
Baron Matsuri, like you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, for me, it was just the aspect that like everywhere that he was going, the cat was picking up a new crewmate.
Oh,
And then,
okay.
And then
I did mention to Kirsten, I was like, this is like an RPG. They're assembling their team.
You're just assembling your squad as you're coming through. And then at some point, that stork becomes Jesus and then just ascends into heaven.
Which I want to talk about. I
was also confused about that.
I'm still confused about that, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah. And then, but I thought it was a really cute movie. I thought it was really adorable. I love the way the animals really interacted with each other. How they really became like a really little tight-knit family at the end, and like the cat wasn't alone. But it also left you with mysteries, like what is this world? What's going on? Obviously there were humans there, or at least they appear to be humans at some point. But how long ago was it? Because like it showed like the house where the cat was staying at, and there were drawings of said cat, so it had to have been somewhat
it
recent.
looked like because he had a human bed. There was a human bed there.
Yeah, there was a human bed there. So the cat was sleeping in the bed. So it was like the cat was, and he was like an indoor cat, or a cat that was, domesticated. But then throughout the movie, the cat sort of learns about itself, like being able to swim, thanks to the capybara showing it how to swim and hunt and getting its own fish. Because in the beginning of the movie, you can't really do that, right? So he kind of depends on the dogs to kind of get food for him. So there's a lot of questions about like what's going on, but like I don't think that's ever really addressed. And I don't think it had to, because they're just telling the story of these animals that were there and like how they kind of had to get through with each other and be part of their sort of cohesive little family unit that they sort of created. Even though they still probably should not rescue those dogs, but whatever. It's like the ones when those dogs got rescued, they fucked everything up.
Yeah, that was the end of the second act. Is when the stork went away, and it's partially because of the dogs, which I do want to talk about. But before we dig deeper into that, let's go ahead and transition to Jonesy's question, because I am curious everyone's favorite animal, and it's obviously the capybara, right?
Actually, for me, it was the lemur.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's the lemur.
The lemur?
Yeah,
the lemur.
Fuck that guy and his horde.
Yeah,
no, the lemur was the lemur was funny. Like that's the thing. I love the lemur because at the end, the lemur like puts in a lot of work and effort and realizes what's really important. Because
that's not important. That's right.
If you remember at the end, all the shit is everywhere, and then he's struggling to freaking get the rope to be able to pull in the boat.
And he was the one that was like, "Hey, let's do the thing."
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
You know what he reminded me of?
No, doesn't. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say he reminded me of if you guys ever saw Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was basically Quark, like this very greedy, like all I want is money. This is all I care about. But then he ends up like Diego said, like these are the things that are important to me. So these people that he found along the way are what are more important than ascending. So,
and it was
to
nice.
be a Grand Negus, which is basically what it was.
Speaking of arcs, like seeing the cat go from many moments, especially early on, like being very much like this is just survival mode, running away from everything at the expense of everyone else, and then the moment where he transitions is when he joins the other ones and meowing at the bird, whatever the bird kind of bird
Secretary bird, yeah.
Secretary bird, to go save the dogs, where it was just like we should probably go save the dogs. And the secretary bird is like, no, let's not save the dogs.
Well, the
I love
secretary
everybody's
bird goes,
attempt to
"Fine,
try and
fuck it."
steer the
Yeah.
the
The
boat.
secretary bird wasn't saying fine, fuck it. The secretary bird was bitter about the whole thing. He seemed bitter about it.
Yeah, that
Didn't
seems
say
very
anything.
fuck it.
Gave
Yeah.
him the cold shoulder, and
Yeah.
then flew off. And then go on, Jonesy. You're shaking your head. He didn't fly off out. He did fly off after that, but go on.
Later. Oh well, okay. So you're talking about later.
Well, I mean, it was
'Cause-
like the next scene.
Well, the immediate aftermath was like he like waddled to the front of the boat, and the cat tried to talk to him. He's like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the dogs came in. They raised a little hell. Just because as whenever there's a new introduction of any species or animal into a space, there's going to be an adapting period. There's going to be dynamics that aren't respected. This is like it's an adapting period, and then the secretary bird never really got over it. Seemed like, and then the next scene, once they're in that other area, he flies off into the ruins. The cat, for all intents and purposes, follows him. After which he ascends into the heavens. What are your thoughts as to what happened in that scene? I have read some rumors online. I had no idea what to think. I was like the cat, confused.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I was like, okay, so the secretary bird basically risked his whole entire existence with its herd for this
Yes.
cat.
Yes.
It stood up, and I thought that was super wild, the way that they showed it getting its fucking wings clipped and everything, like the
Yeah.
whole entire scene. I was like, oh my god,
That was
these guys are
dramatic.
fucking assholes. But they did that, and so this bird was sort of kept in a way that was like not quite as powerful, I guess, and like the dynamic. The way I saw the dynamic seemed to be the cat realized that this person risked what they did to the point that they even gave him a fish, and they were doing all these things for like a little mentor. And they just wanted to be in silence, right? So even like the moment where like the cat follows him up to the temple, the bird sort of looks over at him and he's just like, "Hey, what's up?" And then that's really it. But I also wasn't sure what to think of that particular scene because like there is the dream sequence with the cat and like the elk kind of going around a circle. You know what I'm talking about? Like the little dream
Yeah.
sequence that the cat had. Like I wasn't sure if that was alluding to that particular scene or like what the hell the point of that scene was. Because he was like, you have to go to the temple. Like you keep seeing in this dream, like this massive, massive like statue, and like they go and they make it up there, and then that happens, and like I said, I have no idea because it's not like the bird flew up. It's like the bird, they both sort of
Was
floated
taken
up.
up.
Yeah, they both
Yeah,
floated
got
up.
taken.
And I guess that what you just described. So you described it, and it, like to me, it kind of reinforces what I consider this to be kind of a bitter ending to it, where this bird did sacrifice their relationship with the rest of their what are they called?
I call
Not
it a
crew.
herd, but I don't know.
Not a
whatever.
herd. Whatever flock.
Crew.
There you go. The rest of the
flock.
flock.
Are they a flock? Oh, the other birds. Yeah.
The birds, the other birds, and then at near the end seemed to be angry. It's just like, hey, I fucking sacrificed everything, and you let these assholes in and destroy our thing that we got going on. I'm out. I fly off, and then I float up, and I'm not really sure what to make of that. Jonesy, what did you gather from that? And then I'll dig into a little bit more as to what I heard. By the way, you can go ahead and talk. I'm gonna grab coffee real quick. I could hear you. I'll be back. Keep talking. Go.
There was a part of me that wondered if what happened to the secretary bird is what happened to all the humans. So what I found pretty interesting about the world that we're introduced to, there are no bodies, there are no weapons, there's no like evidence of a nuclear disaster. Like these people just vanished. And so one of two things I think happened. Either they were aware that the flood was coming and then they just booked, or what happened to them was sort of like a rapture-esque type thing where they were just taken up in the magical portals. And so those are kind of the two things where I figured what happened. And maybe there was something about his spirituality that he or she showed that caused them to be taken up into the portal. And that's why the cat didn't go. because they weren't on the same. They hadn't finished their spiritual journey the way the bird had.
But the bird seemed to end on a bitter note. It didn't seem like it ended on like a "I'm good." It seemed to end on "F you guys, you ruined our thing."
Which the cat, I think, also got a sort of sense of like, because the cat follows, right? The cat doesn't go with the bird.
Yeah, it doesn't quite follow. It looks and then falls into the water, and then it ends up washed on an area where they can essentially follow it.
I don't think it's necessarily about being good or not. I think it's more of a Buddhist type idea where the bird was the one directing the boat. Everyone was trying to say like, hey, no, you need to go do this, go do this, go do this. And the bird lets go and goes with the flow and allows them to do what they're going to do.
Goes with the what?
Yeah, exactly.
The flow.
And so I think that is more indicative of like a nirvana or Buddhist tradition where you're just like, action is no action, right? The place you're trying to get to is no action. And that might have been what they were shooting for. Now, the fact that he was annoyed about it, yeah, that probably does that definitely puts a hole in what I'm pitching, but that seems to be that was my read on it.
I read another theory. Oh, go ahead. You looked like
no, go ahead. While I was thinking of the bird, because I had another question about the whale that we haven't discussed.
I read another theory that, and it's kind of similar, where that the stork died off screen and that the cat saw its spirit ascend. Which, in retrospect, I don't like as much because it also feels false because the cat was also floating. Then again, it could have also been a dream sequence, but not really because it didn't wake up and it was a part of it moving. So I'm like, that doesn't quite fit either.
But when would that have happened? So the bird is on the boat talking to the cat or annoyed at the cat. And then to your point, like the next thing that happens is we're on this mountain going up.
Yeah.
Nah. What's with the whale?
So,
that was another big thing. Because it wasn't really, it was a whale, but it was like a weird.
It's a whale.
Mutated whale, too. That was the other, like, big
fantasy
thing.
whale, not mutated.
Yeah.
Fantasy. It didn't look like Godzilla radiation.
Whale. Because it ends up beached on the shore because of the water going away because of the earthquake. But then at the end credit scene, it's shown swimming. Yeah. So then you know that it's safe.
But do we? Wait, or was that from the past? There was a post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah, there was a post-credit scene. Yeah.
It wasn't a scene. It was just a shot.
What's this keep happening to me?
It was just...
I don't know, Jonesy. You don't... Yeah, like...
It's 2025, Jonesy. Haven't you learned?
Yeah.
Wait, so what is the post-credit scene?
It's not really a scene. It's a shot.
It is a scene.
Okay.
It's a scene.
It's a shot. It's a single shot.
Just tell me what the fuck happens.
I think Diego and I can agree it's a shot.
Sure, it's a shot.
Yeah.
And what happens in the fucking shot?
So I think we can agree that it's a shot. I think that's what we're going to settle on.
My fucking God. Oh, you see is basically the sunset and the water rising again a little bit, or at least the water's back, and you see the whale kind of putting its tail up in the air and like swimming across. Yeah.
So we know it's the same whale?
Yeah, it looks like the same whale.
I mean, we don't know for sure.
But we don't know, but
we
looks
don't know
like the same
if
whale.
It's in the future. We don't know if that's a shot from the past, kind of like thinking about what used to be or what was, or if it's, hey, the water's going to rise again. We don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think the thing that's kind of interesting about this stuff is like, one, that makes me think that this stuff is just kind of cyclical, right? Like it's just gonna happen again. And I've seen discussions about like, where is this actually? Like the capybara, that is an animal that's native to South America. And so you could have some of these other animals, but that secretary stork is only found in Africa. And so one of the things that made me think is like, so there's no analogy that I'm aware of like these giant cats or these giant statues anywhere. And to Diego's point about like, is this a whale? Is this a like mutated whale? And I think either that is a stylistic choice or like that's telling us something very specific about this world. Like it might not even actually be Earth.
It does not seem like it's Earth. I agree.
Well, that's the thing is, I kept talking about it with my friends. I'm like, I don't think this is Earth. They're like, no, it has to be Earth. And I was like, why?
Why does it have to be Earth?
Earth? And then like, because if you look at it, it's got all these animals, and the animals themselves don't look different, other than the whale.
I think the whale is the only one that's native to that planet.
I thought.
Hold on. What?
So to the point about the whale looking different than everything else, like the dog is the same, the lemur is the same, the secretary, like all of those are like, we can look at those and go like, that is very obviously what that is. And we get to the whale, we're like, what is that? Why does that whale
But you said
look
that's
like
the
that?
only one that's native to that planet. Are you saying the other ones are aliens? What are you
Yeah.
saying?
I'm saying this isn't Earth, and that the humans that were there have gone for whatever reason, and there was like an arc, right? So they're like, hey, we've got to leave Earth or whatever planet, go to this planet. They've colonized it. They live there, right? And it's obvious that when they got there, they were not in a state of like advanced technological whatever. And so I think that those animals, like, this is just me spitballing.
Yeah.
It seems weird that all of the animals look exactly the same that we would recognize. And then they also have this really weird cycle of floods. And the whale is the only one that just doesn't look like anything else. Almost like a shark, right? Like there's just very little evolution.
You know what's funny is I had a completely different theory about it, because if you look at the aesthetics of the place, you have a bunch of statues with animals around. You have the statue of the giant cat at the end, or not at the end, like I guess like right before, at the beginning, like right before the water really takes over. You have all these structures, and I thought in my head initially, I'm like, did all the people become the animals?
Oh, interesting.
Because like the way that the sort of architecture is built, like, yes, it looked like the people were there. Like, I think there was a human bed. There's a whole bunch of different things. The house, the buildings, humans, or some sort of human-esque thing had to be there. But it didn't explain why there were all the statues, and there were, like you said, there was no weapons. There was no sort of show of like
evidence of war,
evidence of nuclear fallout. There was a massive rise in tide, so maybe it is, the global warming element added to it because of the massive water or rise in water, but it doesn't look like it was something that had happened before, because I think like the animals themselves were super scarred at the end when they were looking at the water, at like the final shot where they're looking at the water.
I don't know if they were scarred. That was more of a callback from the beginning when the cat was looking and he was by himself, and then he looked in later on and he's with the group as a family.
I know, but the way that they were all like that, it honestly felt like they all had PTSD. Like the cat honestly had PTSD, where he like saw the fucking antelope running and he's like, oh shit, it's gonna fucking happen again. And then literally goes over to the water and he's just like, oh god, is it gonna happen? And then they're just looking and like it's not happening, but like you could look on their eyes that they're all like worried and like they had PTSD for sure.
And really quick, I do think that confirms though that shot at the end of the whale is later, because you're right, the stampede happened a little bit before the water rose up last time, and so it is a sign that it's going to happen again.
So I'm going to throw in another theory. Not aliens. This is just the future.
Aliens.
Yeah, I think it's just the future. And I think whatever happened in terms of war or global warming or some sort of pandemic has just reduced the size of the human population. And they understand and know that these tides come cyclically, right? Because this is a thing that happens. And so that's the reason why they left. Now, I don't know if it explains why they would have left their pets or their cats or any of that stuff, but that's another reason why the whale might look different. Like, what does a whale evolve into in a world that now has significantly more water in it?
So I don't think it happens as cyclically or as common as it seems like. And the only reason I say that is because that cat's home seemed like it was pretty settled in.
Yeah.
You know, there was no evidence of there previously being. I mean, granted, it could have been like it happened cyclically over the course of like, you know, a long time, and then there's like a tumultuous period of, you know, weeks or months, and then it goes back to normal.
It's like monsoon season.
Yeah, exactly. And weather is a bitch. So,
but I think from the perspective of the animals, like this was all new. I don't think they've seen this before. That's the part where like it's very interesting because like otherwise it would have been prepared for it, in my opinion, or at least had not been as.
I just imagine the capybara.
Yeah. I was like, what does a Labrador do to prepare for a flood?
No, but I'm like the way. No, I'm saying like I'm not saying it like prepared in the sense of like preparedness, but like mentally.
Yeah.
Because like that's what happens at the end of the movie where like the cat realizes it's happening again, and he's like, "Oh shit, we have to figure something out." So that's where I'm like, I don't quite know where, and that's the wild thing about this movie, man. Like, there's so many unanswered, like different things, but at the end of the day, it's literally just a story about survival and coming together. It's like the whole Lost thing, where is it live together, die alone thing from Lost. I don't know if you guys watched
I never got past season 3. I stopped.
I never
got past season 1. They talked about it in the beginning in season 1 and 2.
Well, shit, I don't remember that at all then.
But that's what Jack's thing was in like season 1, and then it continued being a theme throughout. But essentially, that's kind of what again reminded me of. It's like we could either be individualistic and like kind of leave by ourselves, and like you saw it with the lemur, and you kind of saw it with the cat to a certain extent, where he's like, I can't do this all by myself. I need my friends to be able to survive and be able to live, and move forward. Like Capybara, I think, was just a badass the entire movie. I think
was
like
fucking
that's
MVP.
Yeah, like he was obviously like he fucking shows up with the boat, figures out how to steer, gets the bananas, convinces the fucking lemur to fucking get on the boat by collecting his shit and putting his basket inside the boat.
It's the one that taught the cat how to swim too, right?
Taught the cat how to swim, and
did I miss the scene, or did I miss the implications of it in teaching it? I don't remember the teaching.
So it wasn't like this is how you do it, but it was like, hey, like it was swimming next to it, like, and then the cat looked at him like, and I can do that, and started doing the same thing.
And so that's how because of that, and so there's a sort of implication as they're going through the boat, he is learning how to do all these things, and so he eventually gets the way of being able to hunt for fish, right? So he's doing all he gets all those fish and he's doing that stuff, and like they're all having their nice little happy family moments
before the dogs ruin everything.
Fucking Shiba Inus, man.
Hey, and I love that
Shiba
Inu there? Was that
during the fishing, right? Because there's this moment where the cat has learned all of these things, and then it goes fishing for itself, and then it gets on the boat and looks around. I was like, no, I'm gonna do this for everyone. I thought that was amazing, like because that's not where he initially started when he went to fish, and then just looking around, he decided he was going to do something for the community. I love that momentary.
This movie is communist propaganda, is what it is. Ran over my toe. Yeah, Republicans are not going to like this one. They're not going to like it.
I think it'll go over the head.
In 2 days, this movie's going to get banned for its propagandic nature.
Wow. It'll go over the heads.
You're really pushing that narrative, aren't you?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, good for you.
Anyway, any other thoughts about
shade
this?
Is darker than a cat.
Yeah. I was like, cool. Good for you.
Good for you, bro.
Yeah.
Good
cool
for
story,
you.
Bro. Cool story.
Trying to think if there are any other questions that I think there are a lot of questions, and there's a lot of things I don't really explain, but at the end of the day, it's not important. I think it goes just to show that how much you can get away with just not explaining things, and that's okay.
If your story is strong enough,
to your
I
story.
thought that was amazing.
Yeah, that's okay. And it actually also reminds me of something else that I consumed this week, which is not animated, but I feel like had a lot of the same things, some of them.
We don't want to hear about
Skeleton Crew.
God damn it.
Which I'm not going to say anything about it, but there's a lot of
not-
implications about it that happen in it, and they just don't explain it. And I'm like, cool. I like that. I like that a lot.
I mean, I like the mystery behind this. I actually haven't watched Skeleton Crew yet.
That's fine.
It's really
That's
good.
fine.
It's
I
on my
highly
list,
recommend.
but
It's so good. It's
Okay.
easily the best Star
It'll
Wars
probably
thing
get canceled.
yeah.
wait,
it
have
was
you
so
seen
good.
Andor?
No, I haven't seen it. I was about to
Okay.
say I haven't seen Andor, but it's easily. Here's the thing about Andor. I watched the first episode and I was like, this is pretty good. I'll watch it later, and then I just didn't. Skeleton Crew. I was just like, after the first episode, I'm like, I gotta keep watching. Yeah,
No.
I disagree, Jonesy.
No.
This is this show.
This was
the
not.
best.
This is 100%. This is not a. We are so far from the mandate of the show. But Skeleton Crew is not a first episode lock in, and I'm saying that
disagree.
to warn Diego.
Disagree. Hard disagree.
I'm gonna cut. I mean, I have two extremes on each side. Jonesy on this not a first episode lock in. I have Jammer.
No.
You're gonna fucking want to binge it. Meanwhile, I loved Andor from the get go, and I
Yeah.
watched it on a weekly basis. And I got to the point. There's a moment in Andor, and I know you haven't seen this, Jammer, so I'm not gonna ruin it for you. But there's a moment in the show where they do this crazy ass like visual. And at that moment, I was like, holy shit, this show is fucking special. I think it happens like episodes 2 or 3. It's super early on. But I am obviously going to watch Skeleton Crew. But I wanted to make sure that it ran its course because I didn't feel like it was a
Yes.
show that needed to be watched on a weekly basis.
I think it would have been fun to watch on a weekly basis. To be honest, they have some pretty good cliffhangers, in my opinion. Jonesy disagrees. Jonesy disagrees.
So you know what's funny? I've gotten accustomed to. I really like the Arcane model. Like, here are 3 episodes. Here's an arc.
Oh yeah, he likes binging things. I'm more. I could do more. I can do week to week more. I'm okay with week to week. Let the conversation build.
You can have
Jonesy's
a
like,
conversation
give
in
it
a
to me.
3-episode arc.
Just put it, shove it all down my gullet.
Yeah.
Just give it
Stick
to
it
me
in
all
my
at
veins.
once.
Stick it in my veins.
Stick it in my veins. But did you like Skeleton Crew so far? How far have you gotten? Have you finished it yet?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I finished it. I thought it was great.
Oh, okay. Okay, so at least we're on the same page there.
Yeah,
you think it's
I
great?
thought it was
okay.
awesome. Yeah, I just don't think that the first episode was like, oh, I have to see all of it. Like,
So
it was interesting
the first
enough.
episode accomplished something in Star Wars that I hadn't experienced since the first Star Wars when I first watched it. And that was, shit, I kind of want to live there. That's how
That's
I felt.
true.
And I
'Cause
hadn't
up until
felt
this
that
point-
in so long.
Ever? No.
No,
the
in
first
Star Wars. It was,
No,
other
no,
than
yeah.
the first one.
Ever.
Yeah.
Why would you want to live there? Because the weird thing is, there's always people have this conversation. I've seen people talk about like, well, would you rather live in Star Wars or Star Trek? It's like, oh, why? Why would you not want to pick the utopia where you could walk into a computer simulation and do the Star Wars things versus like maybe getting randomly murdered?
Yeah.
By like whatever happens in Star Wars. No.
Yeah.
No. I'm good.
But yeah,
So-
I felt that way, and I thought it brought out a childlike wonder that I really appreciated in myself. But anyways, not a lock-in apparently by episode 1. Apparently doesn't have good cliffhangers according to Jonesy.
No, I don't think. No, that's not true. I do think that they're a good cliffhanger. I just don't think that the first episode was like, I have
fair.
to. It was
That's
interesting enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would continue.
Okay. Any last words about flow before we wrap this up? There's one news topic I do want to at least discuss before we close out. If y'all have an extra little bit of time.
I'm done talking about skeleton whale.
Skeleton whale.
Skeleton whale.
Yeah, I'll say this. I think going back to flow, because that was the topic of conversation. I don't know how the fuck we got into Skeleton Crew because I think
I know
Jammer
how we
brought it
got
up.
to skeleton. We're talking about
'Cause
mysteries that
Jammer
didn't
took
need
a
to be
hard
explored.
right.
Hold
Yes.
on, Jonesy. Do you agree that there were mysteries in Skeleton Crew that just weren't explored? And I was like, hey, that kind of makes the world feel bigger. It kind of incites the imagination more. I thought that was cool. Do you agree on that level at all?
Yes, but then they kind of fucked it up.
Oh, interesting. Well, we don't need to talk about that, but that's interesting.
We talk about offline.
But
Flow.
going back to flow. Sorry, I'm like thinking about like you guys started talking about Skeleton Crew, and my mind just went, yeah, yeah, I have nothing to
That's
comment
fair.
on this. So I'm just like, yeah.
Flow, cats,
Um,
capybaras.
no,
Secretary
Favorites.
again, I love the movie for what it was trying to convey, and I'm glad that it won the Golden Globe because I think it kind of pushes other people to watch it because it's an award-winning movie.
That said,
To the point that it's actually being put in movie theaters now around here.
Yeah, I saw it was playing in movie theaters near me at the Alamo Draft House, which is great. But I actually wanted to see it beforehand.
man, I
But
miss the Alamo Draft House so much.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that I was like, okay, maybe if I watch it on Alamo, if I watch it here, like I wanted to watch. Like, this is a movie that would have been good to watch in movie theaters to see like people's reaction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the going back to the what are you?
it's capybara.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There wasn't enough of that. I needed more of this.
Yes.
Continue. Ignore the video. This is for the audience, not for you.
Okay.
What audience?
Yep. They're. God damn it. The movie itself was very sort of because I also wanted to see like what the director had to say.
Oh.
And so I looked up an interview that he did about the movie. And the biggest takeaway again that he wanted to do, and I think I forgot to like link it, but essentially it was he wanted to make a movie about coming together as a team to get something done because that's how the movie was to him. Like him making this movie was a team collaborative effort that took a lot of people, hence the entirety of the support in the beginning of the movie. And so that was sort of like his take on it, and I thought that it was a really well done movie while also adding a bunch of mystery that did need to be explained, or it should have been explained but it wasn't, and it just kind of left you kind of wanting more, or at least a little bit more clarification of what was happening.
And I'm trying to find the quote. We first received financing in Latvia, and after that, several organizations in France, it was indicated by the 2-minute intro of this film, provided further funding. Took 2 years, so we didn't start building a team until 2021. Okay, so Latvian team built in 2021. Blah blah blah. Sorry, I'm trying to find. I'd always hoped to work with a team, but I didn't feel like going through the traditional way that an animation director would start out. Maybe first being a story artist or an animator and slowly, gradually rising to the top, blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I'm trying to find a quote there that supports what you're talking about, but this is a long interview, so I failed. So let's just go ahead and assume that what you said is correct and take it from there. But I think that's pretty cool, and I think it goes to show how, for lack of a better term, this movie was kind of made as a stream of consciousness isn't the right word. It was kind of pantsed together in a way where it was like kind of they just went with it as it developed. Kind of like a Miyazaki movie, because I know that's how he works, where he doesn't really have an outline of the story. He just kind of just goes until he's done.
Oh,
which is
I
chaotic
see.
and weird.
I see. That's where this comes from. Nothing. Go ahead.
What?
Nothing.
What does that mean?
Nothing. It's also very Steven Spielberg or Stephen King. Where, yeah. Where it's more about the characters than it is about the actual story.
Yeah.
And it shows.
So really quick regarding the humans, he said there's a boat in the tree in the beginning of the film to suggest that it's not the first time the flood has come. It's kind of a recurring occurrence, and so my idea was that the people were aware of that, so they at least had some warning. They probably left somewhere. They are still somewhere in this world. So the people are around, but they left because they knew the floods were coming.
I'm a little surprised they left their animals, their pets.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they were... Oh, I guess the cat was the pet, presumed.
Labrador is 100%
what a
pet.
Dick. But he didn't have a collar
all
or
those
anything.
birds. All
I
those
think
birds.
it's a collar society. Yeah, this seems like a very post-civilization world. I don't think any of them have collars. So
yeah.
They're just like, oh, yeah, that's my human.
But anyways, with regards to the world, the director says, I don't start with the world. I start with the character and relationships, and then I think about the kind of place that'd be best suited to convey these ideas and to have some conflict occur where they have to make some decisions, where different characters react in different ways. I start with a character, then I build a background around that. So it wasn't the focus. It's like a Nintendo thing, you know? They just create game mechanics. The rest of it is ancillary, but it's still fun to think about. Anything else you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think I again just seeing people's like meaning of the movie and their interpretation of it is interesting.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
But like it's always like you ask them like what do you think about the movie, and Rapture Bird Jesus is one of the things that I thought was like not in my bingo card of like what the movie was going to be about, but it was, and I was like interesting. But at the end, I think it is very telling that it's like like the whole aspect of balance. Like the flood was a detriment to the people on land or the animals on land, but it was also beautiful for the whale and the fish because they got to explore the world like they'd never had to before, or were able to before. So, and then at the end, the water goes away, and then the people, the animals stay on land, but then the whale is basically suffering, right? So it's like this sort of back and forth thing where you can't really. It's like a balance of things. So
nature, such as
yeah,
nature, such
as nature.
So, switching it up a little bit, just following up on one news item from several weeks back, where Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse, the third film in the Spider-Verse franchise, it's been facing some troubles. We recently got note that they had directors, which is like great. Have they always been directors? Like, what's going on there? And this already comes, after the film has been delayed. It should have, according to their original announcement, been out for almost a year at this point. And obviously, that is no longer the case. It was pretty clear that wasn't going to happen once that second movie came out, because they're like, we're just starting on the third one right now. Like that, they made that clear from the get-go that second movie was made like up to the finish line. And so we couldn't have expected them to done a whole lot of work on the third one. And so it would take some time. How much time is another question altogether. And I know a lot of people are thinking, well, maybe 2025. And I'm like, hell no. Like, there's no way. I would be surprised if it comes out in 2026. Personally, I think it's coming out no sooner than 2027. Maybe even 2028, just because of how long it takes for these movies to make. Just because the first one came out, was it 2018 or 2019? And then the second one came out in 2023. So that's like 4 years. And so with that in mind, like I would say 3 to 4 years seems to be a pretty good rule of thumb of when we're going to get it. But that hasn't stopped people from freaking out, because there's new information from Jarrell Jerome, who is Miles G. Morales in the second movie, which I actually didn't know that Miles G. Morales was different from Miles Morales.
Like a different voice actor?
I didn't realize it was a different voice actor because he says like 2 words.
I thought he was just putting on an accent.
I thought he was just I thought he was just putting on an accent or like deepening his voice. He's like, I'm more hard and gritty in this world than in the other world. So I didn't realize that. But anyways, Jarrell Jerome spoke with Decider, and he said that he has yet to begin any work on the third installment in the film, with no word regarding when production would start. No, I wish, he said. We haven't started up yet. A lot of things being figured out, but good things. So, Jonesy, Diego.
Yep.
Let's start with Diego.
Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you? And do you think, like a lot of people online, that this movie is never coming out?
No, well, obviously the movie is coming out at some point. Am I concerned? Not really, because no offense, but who gives a shit? Eventually you're going to see the movie. I mean, I get that the movie is coming out, and they're eventually going to work on it. It's kind of ridiculous to think that it's not going to. Personally speaking,
this isn't Blade, right?
Yeah, what do you mean? Like the Marvel Blade?
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel also had to completely change their entire storylines and plot lines of where stuff was going to go because of Jonathan Majors. literally straight up. Like they had this entire plot line and everything planned out for him, and because of his actions, had to change course, which I'm sure he was going to be inputted into Blade and all stuff. And as we know, it takes freaking forever to develop a plot lines and stuff, and do pre-production stuff takes a long time.
I don't know. They seem to pivot pretty fast on that.
Well, I mean, they've done that now, but I mean, in terms of movie narration, like in terms of stuff, like they completely removed him from anything, and like you're not seeing anything anymore.
I feel
But
like
the
we have to have
next-
some closure, but I guess the closure is an Ant-Man, right? I guess.
Yeah.
No, the closure's going
yeah.
to be he's going to be recast, and like the RDJ version of Doom is just going to murder him.
Potentially, yeah, like just like
Yeah.
right away. But
Yeah.
like with that said, right, they had to do a bunch of stuff, and like they're doing all these things, and they're in terms of a Marvel movie. I mean, what do we have? The new Captain
Fantastic
America
Four.
coming out?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
No, right now, like
Thunderbolts?
recently, like yeah, like
Next
coming
month.
up, like right now, it's like it's a huge thing, right? So
Cap and then Thunderbolts are this
Yeah.
year's big ones.
But we just didn't. It hasn't felt like we had this whole thing. So like with Marvel, they had to completely switch it up because of the fact of in my opinion, they weren't getting the success that they had before, right? So they had to sort of start switching
Yeah.
up the formulas. Whereas with this movie, it's always been successful. Like even the first movie was, from the
So
get-go was
good.
successful. It was so good. The second one was really even better. But obviously there was a cliffhanger, and I still remember when I went to go see it. The movie ended, and there was a little girl that I was in the back, and she was like, "Are you kidding me? This is how it
No.
ends!" And it just like
I
yells
thought
out.
my whole theater was going to go up in a fucking riot.
Yeah, it was insane. They were just so angry and like upset about like how the whole thing was happening.
So funny. I have such a different reaction from people because at the end I was just like, yeah, okay, cool. Now we're getting going.
I
Yeah,
don't know. Like, I agree with you, but also like it was. I think that's just indicative of how
We got
good a cliffhanger
so
it
much
was.
out of that movie, though. That
That's what I'm
movie
saying. I
got
think it was just a
so
really
much.
good cliffhanger.
Yeah. Anyway, so you're not concerned, Jonesy. What are your thoughts in terms of this
At
e-commerce
this point, I don't
from?
give a shit. I don't care anymore.
Okay.
It's like whatever. I do think that the people online about it's never going to come out. That's incredibly hyperbolic. And to Diego's point, these are incredibly successful films. Literally the only thing Sony has going right now. Like
The only good thing. The
not
only good
disagreeing
thing.
The only
with
good
that.
thing,
Yeah.
like
You are correct.
you know, you've got 3 Venom films that are absolute dog shit. I don't give a fuck. I will fucking fight anybody who tries to tell me
Craven
those
the
are good
Hunter,
movies.
though, bro. Holy shit.
Madam
We
Web.
never talked about
you,
that.
Like last year was
So
like
here's what's crazy.
was like
I
a
actually
turkey.
enjoyed Craven the Hunter.
But no one else did. That movie was like so Madam Web, Craven, and then Concord, just all flopping.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it, so I cannot say anything to it, but there's a reason why I didn't watch it.
Craven?
Because it looked like dog shit. It was just one of these like, why do we care about Craven the fucking Hunter? Like, who was
I
like,
think-
yeah, we should do that. Just like Morbius.
Yeah. Morbius
Tell you what,
is not good.
Amy
Aaron Taylor
Pascal
Johnson
and
has
Avi
way
Arad.
more charisma than fucking what's his face? Jared Leto.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, as an actor, he's a better, charismatic actor, and I totally get that.
He's totally gonna be James Bond.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, we'll see if the Broccoli's can get along with Amazon long enough to actually make another James Bond movie.
Man, I can't believe they fucked that up. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Is it
All right.
Broccoli's or is it Broccolis?
I don't know. I've heard.
Okay.
I don't know. I've heard.
All right.
I in my mind wants to
You're
say
making me
broccoli.
You're making
That's
me
only
question
because
everything.
broccoli. It sounds silly. So I don't know.
Yeah, it
I don't
does.
know.
All right.
All right. Well, if that's it, let's go ahead and wrap up. Thank you both for joining me today. Where can our lovely people find you online?
At the Quasi Scott on everything.
Diego.
At Will of Diego on Blue Sky only now, because I have deleted everything else.
Blue Sky. Oh, you deleted Threads?
I deleted Threads. I
Why?
deleted because
Why?
of the I don't need to support Meta anymore.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
of the DEI rollback?
No, well that too, but like the more so like fucking Zuckerberg's like mentality and attitude and like
It's
his
not
whole
just DEI rollback. It's like the any protected class rollback.
So there's the
Hate speech
DEI rollback.
stuff.
There's also the truth stuff that they're getting like the fact
Yeah.
checkers. All that stuff
Yeah.
is gone. But here's what we could talk about this offline. These folks are billionaires for a reason, right? They're ruthless,
Yeah.
transactional individuals. And to the best of my knowledge, like it's kind of crazy. Tim Cook is the best of them. Like he seems to be the only one who's been able to navigate these weird waters without having to lick anybody's asshole.
Ew.
And I just find that to be kind of amazing. Everybody else is like, oh yeah, we'll
I
do
mean,
whatever.
I guess you can do that when you literally are the most valuable company in the world.
But
Mm-hmm.
when you are so Amazon, not necessarily the most valuable, but certainly everything that we own comes from them. And then Meta is the
That's true.
thread through which like all of social media runs. So, and then Twitter as well. And so I just find that to be kind of a fascinating contrast where all of them are just like, it's that picture, the one that the young lady quit the newspaper for. She did the cartoon and she resigned. I'll send it to you.
Okay. I have no
But
idea
it
what you're
shows
talking
like
about.
it shows Open AI and CEO and Zuckerberg and everyone just like kowtowing to the new regime.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's supporting Apple. In the spirit of supporting Apple, Severance Season 2 just dropped. What? I'm so excited.
Wait, did it
I watched
just
the
drop?
first episode. Yeah.
Yesterday,
The
the first
17th?
episode.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Is the whole thing out or just the
No, just the first episode.
first episode? Okay, cool.
No, we're week to week bitches now.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Week to week. I love week to week because for me, when I'm week to week, it allows me to I tend to just not only watch it, but then I put it on the background and I get to enjoy each episode. It takes me back to like the early 2000s where you'd get the anime DVDs and they'd only have 3 episodes
Oh, sorry.
every few months. And then you'd get to like watch all those episodes over and over again because, you didn't have any money. And it was just like, all right, well,
In the
I'm just
words
gonna
of the
enjoy
great sage, ain't nobody got
episodes.
time for that.
I
Love
get to
that.
appreciate things a lot more.
Put it
If
on in the
watching it week to
background.
week.
I lost so much respect for you just now.
No, after watching it the first time, then I put it on the background afterwards. And I don't
I'm
need
done.
your respect,
I'm done.
dick. Okay,
I'm done.
you can find me on all the things at AJ Cerner Writer. You could also follow us on Threads at Inkhouse Radio and Instagram, I guess.
Still TikTok.
Inkhouse. And TikTok.
guess.
I mean, tomorrow.
Well, did you see the new? Well, no. He said
What?
he's not going to enforce it. He said he's going to let the Trump administration do it.
Who's he?
Yeah, Biden basically kicked the can down the road.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
and-
that's 2 days. In 2 days, what's going to happen?
Well, I mean, the fucking TikTok CEO is going to be at the inauguration, literally on the VIP fucking board
Licking that asshole.
area. So
Okay, so maybe TikTok's still around.
yeah,
Knock on wood. We'll see. If
That's
TikTok
also
is
the
still
other
around.
reason-
Yeah.
that's also the reason why I'm kind of doing it because like I know that this is all pushed by fucking Zuckerberg and fucking Elon to fucking get rid of TikTok.
Yeah, these free speech advocates. Where the fuck are they? They just kind of
Yeah. So what I'm kind of like at right now, it's like, yeah, well, if I'm not going there, I'm going to Blue Sky. That's why I'm like, I'm Blue Sky. Like,
fuck.
I
all
like-
that.
I like the idea of Blue Sky, but Jesus Christ, no algorithm is fucking rough. That's like they're raw dogging it. You're raw dogging it out there on
But
the
also,
social
I
media
don't
without
want
an
to
algo.
screw with that one because God, I can't even think his name now. Who's
Oh,
the
yeah.
creator of Twitter?
Dorsey, right?
Dorsey. Dorsey
Yeah.
was the one that was like, "Oh yeah, Elon Musk is going to be great for Twitter." Fucking wrong. Then when he was creating Blue Sky, he said, "Oh, everybody stop coming to Blue Sky. Go back over to Twitter." Like, fuck all of you. The frustration that I have of jumping from
he's
one
no longer in
billionaire's
it,
platform.
by the way.
I got it, but my
Yeah.
frustration is like jumping from one dipshit billionaire's platform to another. Like, no, I'm done with that.
Well, that I agree, but like the thing is one, he's no longer on Blue Sky. He actually got kicked off of the
He's
board,
tainted it.
and he like did that. And the people at Blue Sky now know that that's like the one place where people can actually do what the stuff is what X was doing in the beginning. So
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
You could do that, or you could just do Red Note, which is what everyone seems to be doing, but that's like straight
Red
up
Note
China.
is straight up in Chinese. The language is straight. I'm not gonna do Red,
Well,
but it's funny seeing
they're
things.
starting to
People,
change now. They're starting to change.
people realizing that China isn't a complete dystopia. Have you been seeing that?
Dude, yeah, like what the
What?
fuck was wrong with that? Like people are like, oh yeah, I thought they were gonna be just poor people everywhere with like
they're seeing
you know,
China
everyone
through
thought it
Red
was-
Note, and they're realizing that it's not North Korea. It
Yeah.
seems
No.
like people thought it was like North Korea in
So
China.
all of the
but
Chinese
no
kids,
one even knows
not
what
all
North
of-
Korea looks like either. So it's like
That's fair.
I do.
For all we know, we might actually get a look in North Korea, and it's like, oh shit, it's actually like South Korea.
I know exactly what it is. No, it is absolutely the fuck not.
I'm just
So
saying.
if you go to the demilitarized zone in South Korea or between the two, you can see across. And North Korea has like the largest flag ever floating above this fake city. And so they're just like these wooden houses. They're just very fake towns.
Jonesy lived in Korea for a while, in case you're wondering. I'm not sure if you knew that, Diego.
Don't put my
I
business out there. But yeah, I just I've told everybody it's fun.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think it was a secret.
it's just very funny because it's very obviously all fake. But with China, like a lot of people have talked about, so a lot of these exchange students coming to America, they're really just taking a step down from the life that they have in China, which is kind of funny.
All right. Well, on that weird note, let's go ahead and close things off. Thank you both for joining me today. We'll talk next time, and hasta lasagna.
Don't get any on you.
Wait, what?